this with me and Ms. Osuna are going to give similar speeches, mine in English and hers in Spanish, so that everyone in the audience can receive an adequate experience. For those of you bilingual, you will hear very similar words throughout here, but they will be infused with our own personal touch, so just in case you hear that. So thank you very much for being here. It's a little strange to be up here and see all of you with caps and gowns on, but I'm happy to see everyone here. So I wanted to impart a little bit of wisdom as we start today, and I thought about someone that during many of his parent-teacher conferences, he was described as a student that was a troublemaker and one that needed to be controlled more. One especially astute teacher discovered that she could make him study through small monetary bribes, although I wish I probably would have done that during my time in media arts. Once in college, after only being there for 18 months, he decided to drop out to follow his passion. This led him to found a small startup that many of you may have heard of, Apple Computers. While he would revolutionize the way in which humans interacted with technology, he was fired by his small startup as they reached the peak of their early success. And he then found himself unemployed before the age of 30. The man I'm talking about is, of course, Steve Jobs. Despite being fired at a very young age, Steve Jobs did not wallow in self-pity and despair at the failure he had faced. Rather, he picked himself up and went on to found the world's foremost digital animation company, Pixar Studios. The company would revolutionize the fields of animation and literally change the way in which we consume animated features. From Toy Story to Up to WALL-E, Pixar Animation transformed our perceptions of what animation is and the stories that they convey. Nearly 20 years after his initial firing from Apple, Jobs was reinstated as CEO, and it was during this period that he went out to make the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, and countless other innovations. I open today with this story not to remind you of a story that many of you may have already heard of, but rather to highlight a characteristic that we all recognize he possessed. He was a person of impact. Whether you agree or disagree with the expanding markets of technology and increased role of technology has taken in each of our lives, there is no denying that he was a person of immense impact. The type of impact most of us can hold in the palm of our hand, and all you need to do is reach down to your pocket to find it. In fact, these are the same devices that I pried from your hands over the past 2 years, and the devices that I hope you are not using right now. Michelle Soda, that's your cue to log off Twitter. Impact can manifest itself in numerous ways. It can come from the head of a multinational corporation, the engineer that designs the rocket to take us to new and unknown solar systems, or the politician that enacts reforms to transform the lives of millions. The common thread that exists between Jobs and others is that their impact truly has a reverberating effect within our society. They inspire the next generation of innovators and leaders, so the vision of the world that they inspire can live on long beyond their short lives on this earth. In order to understand the success of these individuals and how we, like them, can make such an impact, we need to ask ourselves, what traits do these individuals have, such as Jobs, that the average citizen does not? When social scientists and psychologists create studies around what separates the most successful individuals from the rest of us, there are two characteristics that stand out most: passion and grit. These two are paramount to impacting the world in a truly meaningful way. As you face uncharted waters of college and future career paths, many of you may have a constant worry of what job you'll be working 10 years from now. To the many individuals who have come to me with concerns that what will occupy their work life for the years to come, I say, what makes you excited in the morning to get up and face the world? The late Alan Watts summarized it in a similar sentiment when he stated, what do you desire? What makes you itch? What sort of situation do you wish to find yourself in? This is passion. While the people of impact I discussed with you have many variables between them, every single one of them was immensely passionate for the work that they did. If you want to be a person that leaves their mark on this world, step one must be to find that field that you are passionate about and that you can become the absolute best at. If you are truly passionate about the future that you have selected for yourself, then you will not mind working that 13-hour workday or the sacrifices you may need to make along the way to your eventual impact. If you don't have passion for what you do, then you are destined for the mundane and your impact will be short-lived at best. While it may sound easy to chase the career that we are passionate about once found, there's an equally important component that is imperative to understanding what impact is rippled throughout our society. In addition to being to having passion for the work that you do, you must also possess a trait that is equally hard to come by. For years, social scientists and psychologists believed that the only indicator of a person's chance of succeeding was their intelligence. The problem with this worldview is that intelligence leaves many aspects of the human experience unexplained. What scientists have discovered in the past few years is that individuals that rise to the top are not the smartest. Rather, it's those with the most grit that are characterized as the most successful at the institutions that were studied. These were the individuals that worked the long hours and maintained a relentless focus on the task at hand. They set a goal for themselves, and they did not waver from what they set forth to accomplish. One does not simply invent an iPhone overnight. It takes determination in the face of countless setbacks, failed attempts, and naysayers before you are going to taste the success that you so desire. I don't know about you, but that's some really exciting news. Because most of us in this room will never be or will never get to experience being valedictorian of our class. Sorry, strong chair. But we are all capable of working immensely hard towards the goals, but the passion that we have set forth for ourselves. The key to being a person of impact is not the brain that you currently possess, but the passion for the cause you pursue and the grit you have to see the vision become a reality. My personal impact story is sitting in front of me today with the class of 2013. It is a story of the intersection of grit, passion, individuals that have amazing power contained within themselves. My passion and desire for urban education and teaching began long before my acceptance into Teach for America and my hiring at MAEDA Arts 2 years ago. I distinctly recall during my freshman year at DePaul University reading Jonathan Kozel's Savage Inequalities for a class that I was taking. In this book, Kozel documents the absurd disparities that exist between the richest public schools in the country and the poorest public schools. In particular, he performs a case study concerning New Trier, one of the richest in the Chicago suburbs, and Manly High School, one of the poorest and most dilapidated schools in all of Chicago. In his study, Kozel notes the overcrowding and lack of resources at Manly High School, while compared to the relatively small class sizes at New Trier. Just for one example, their library at New Trier was quite lavish. I got to experience it once in my life, whereas Manly's was all but extinct due to many budget cuts felt by Chicago. With this small book, a fire was set off in me. Luckily, I was required to complete 30 hours of community service for a class that I was placed at Pitt Charter School on the south side of Chicago. Many of the students that attended this school would be forced to go to Manly High School if they did not find themselves another public, charter, or private school to attend upon their completion of middle school. It was there that I would take a 30-hour service experience, whereby I taught 5th through 8th graders health, and I transformed it into a 2-year educational experience and a foray into my passion for science education in urban schools. I found myself waking up on Saturday mornings. Yes, future college students, Saturday mornings do exist, and you should probably find a way to use them in a meaningful way. I found myself waking up on Saturday mornings excited and eager to journey to the other side of the city in order to teach a health class to some very rambunctious 5th through 8th graders. Eventually I would discover Teach for America, and through my acceptance into this program, I felt I finally was going to be able to fuse my passion for science with a passion for eradicating educational disparities. Rewind 2 years ago. I set foot on the campus of MAEDA Arts, wide-eyed and certain that the presence would obviously mean that 100% of you would be scoring higher than in any other science class you had ever been in. I cared. Wasn't that enough? Oh wait, I had no idea what I was doing. Don't worry. I had a very conflated view of myself at that age, and I really thought I was a person of impact at that point. That view of self went up in flames on that first day, with some of you in this room, Joel Robles included. As it sunk in, and I had a lot of work to do to be an excellent teacher. I was struggling to stay afloat. Looking back, it was quite shocking that you learned anything in those first couple months. I got super excited to come to work. I was sacrificing the sacred few hours of sleep I had in order to create lessons, and I didn't have much to show for it. So why did I continue to show up day after day if I was not doing a good job at it? Because even in those dark moments of despair that were my first months teaching, I saw the sparks of greatness. It was Edwin Hernandez and Eliel Murillo asking for more readings from novels about topics about scientists and their explorations. It was Jairo asking crazy, deep scientific questions that demonstrated a depth of understanding far beyond his years. It was watching the light be turned on in Paula and Kevin Galindo as they pushed themselves to a level of understanding that even surprised themselves. And it was watching Brenda Serrano work harder than I've ever seen someone work for in my life. It was these rays of hope that pushed me to be the very best teacher that I could possibly be. I put my head down, worked harder, and this hard work translated into better results. These small gains were worth waking up early and working most days from 7 until well past 10 p.m. at night, with only a few breaks thrown in there. In fact, I distinctly recall dancing around my room and fist pumping in the air, alone mind you, after Jessica Rios got that high score on the test she had spent multiple days coming in after school and studying for. These small gains that we gained throughout the year crescendo to a triumphant conclusion whereby I've watched Marilyn Guevara give a presentation for a science fair with poise and confidence that few students that day possessed. It was Roger explaining in immense detail the differences between two different chemical reactions. And finally, it was Debbie Perez that left me speechless. With the detail and confidence that she had about her lab that she had performed, it was on that day that I realized that while Steve Jobs may have his iPhone as his impact on the earth, I had something vastly more powerful. You. I recall these stories not to highlight some very important ideas I discovered fairly early that I was passionately driven towards equal access to educational resources and pathways to success. This passion was not enough to sustain my desire. If I was fueled by passion alone, I would have ran back to Chicago the second week of school. But passion was not enough to fuel it, but passion mixed with a side of grit to see the task that was completed was just what I needed. Without the determination to show up day after day despite setbacks that we may have faced, I would have never witnessed all the gains from your science fair projects to the 44 of you that demonstrated that neither race nor socioeconomic status would determine how you performed in AP chemistry. In fact, Cesar Chavez summarizes the work that I have been passionately driven towards in his proclamation that once social change begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot uneducate the person who has learned to read. You cannot humiliate a person that feels pride. You cannot oppress the people who are not afraid anymore. We have seen the future, and the future is ours. Class of 2013, you are my social change. You are the prideful masses. You are the unafraid and empowered individuals who have arisen up against those that may have doubted you along your march to graduation, college, and career success. You are the powerful future that has the capacity to achieve so much greatness. I challenge you not to settle for the mundane that the masses strive towards, but rather to seek to be a person of immense and powerful impact. A person that leaves a legacy that will long withstand your temporal moments on this earth. Graduates of class of 2013, you are my impact story. What will you do with this power? Thank you.